or mail in your ballot. This election is critical to all of our lives and our economy. I appreciate you being here, and now if you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please join me in the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red were the ones bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the hope of the brave? Continue to be brave, Americans.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Trump Nevada campaign chairman, Adam Laxalt.
All right, everybody, how we doing? Are we ready? Are we ready for a big win tomorrow or Tuesday? Well, I first have to comment that, we had to cooperate with the county here, so we had to strictly keep with this cap of this rally at the 250. But this rally still tripled Kamala Harris's rally in this exact same venue just 2 days ago. What I've experienced to be able to be part of introducing the president, whether it was in Minden about a month ago now. How many of you were there? All right. Well, it seemed like all of Northern Nevada was there. We had almost 30,000 people. Yeah, and I think that, people wanted to send a message. People wanted to be there, and I like to say that I didn't know the size of the crowd because of where I was positioned. By the time I walk up on the president's giant, catwalk and podium, and I look out, and it's just this sea of humanity, it took my breath away. And it gave me hope that there were that many Nevadans that were ready to fight for our state and ready to fight for our country, and they understand the stakes, right? And you're seeing, I don't know how many of you saw last night, I think it's Reading, Pennsylvania. They say it may have been 50,000 people. Just the sea of humanity of people that are ready to save our country. And what I like to say that this election isn't just about supporting our president. This election is now about supporting our nation. This election is about saving America. It's about what we just led this program with. One nation under God and saluting the flag, right? And so this is what we face. We faced this stark choice. And I remember when I was running in 18, I kept trying to explain to people that if Nevada went the way of Democrat, and we had a Democrat governor, Democrat House, Democrat state Senate, then we would just rapidly slip into California. And we've seen some of that radicalism come down the pipe as fast as we could ever imagine. And there were some Republicans that I think believed that, well, we've been playing ball and we've been nice to the other side for the last few years, we've been making deals, etc. And they felt like, maybe they were going to be able to make deals when the Democrats were in power. Does anybody know what happened just about 80 days ago? They ran into a special session and they radically transformed Nevada's election without the help of a single Republican, without any of them being able to see the bill or understand the new system. And let me tell you about the system that they gave us. So we used to be, until just one cycle ago in 2018, an in-person state. We had over 90%, as much as 96% of people showed up in person to vote. All right? We had a very small amount of absentee voters. And that's when you request to get a ballot mailed to you. There's signature verification in there. It's a fairly safe process. What they did to us here is they mailed a live ballot into every home in this state. I should say every home of every active registered voter. I don't want to be accused of misstating the record by the media. So we were told, people like me that were fighting against this change, we said, Nevada's not ready for this. We've never done 1.7 million ballots mailed all over this state. We were told over and over again, signature verification would prevent fraud. If you have 5 ballots in your house, or your kids went away from college a long time ago, and that ballot's still coming to your house, no one is going to be able to sign that for their kid and mail it in, because the system will catch a bad signature. But what's going on in Clark County is that over 99% of signatures are flying through down there. And this is when we know certain people have reported 18 ballots going to their houses. 18 ballots. So that's what we're fighting. Those of you that are fighting the litigation, we're fighting simply to be able to observe the match and to challenge a signature. When I tell people that we cannot challenge a single mail-in ballot signature today, through the last 3 weeks, or moving forward, people's jaws drop. Even the media's jaw dropped when I speak to them about that. That's the system they gave us, and it's a system that we should be very, very concerned about. But where are we with this election? Well, we have one day to save our state and win Nevada for President Donald J. Trump. That's election day on Tuesday. You all have, I keep losing track of my time here, I guess 2 days, Sunday, the rest of the day, and Monday, to make sure that anybody you know turns out. We have a couple 100,000 Republicans left that have not voted. These people, there's a lot of people, understandably say, I'm an election day voter, and God bless them. Those people turn out, we will win this state. So, what are the other big contrasts we face in this race? Well, one, we know the approach to law enforcement and the approach to securing our community is as stark as it can be. We have people like Kamala Harris, whose people on her campaign and her supporters are donating to the fund that are bailing out the rioters. Violent rioters, they're actually working to get them out of jail as quickly as possible. We know that the Democrat leaders, whether it's a mayor or a Democrat governor, they could have stopped violence in a matter of hours. The president likes to say in a matter of 30 minutes, and he may be overstating it just a tad bit. But it really is that simple. if you are the governor and you activate your National Guard and you tell your law enforcement whatever you need, whatever support you need, we are with you, you have it. Do not allow a single building to be burned down. Do not allow a single person to be attacked. And most certainly do not allow a law enforcement officer to be shot like we had in Las Vegas. That's all it takes. And you'll notice in states like Florida, with my former Navy shipmate, Ron DeSantis, he just simply didn't allow it. And that was that. He didn't have it in a giant, giant state. So don't let the media or others tell you that there's nothing that can be done about this. The president's absolutely right. If you're just adamant that violence will not be tolerated, you allow the peaceful protesting, but if people are violent, they're out. And they go to jail. And no, they're not bailed out. Right? But that's not what the other side wants. I will leave you with this, that they have told us that they want to fundamentally transform America. They have told us that they're willing to pack the Supreme Court. They have told us they're willing to get rid of the Electoral College. They have told us they're willing to add 2 new states to give them 4 senators forever. We've got a special rival here, folks. And like I like to say, believe them when they say they want to transform America. And make sure you tell anyone that's left that happens to be on the fence, which would be really surprising, that is what's on the line. The America we love, the system that we love, the system I served in the Navy in Iraq, the system that people are willing to fight and die for, they think that system is inherently bad and should be transformed fundamentally. We've heard this for years. That is what's on the line. So I ask all of you to make sure you're doing the final push seriously. Commit today to make at least one phone call or one neighbor or one family member to make sure they're voting. And if you do that and we turn out all our Republicans, we will win Nevada on Tuesday. All right. Now it's my great honor to introduce someone that's become a very good friend over the last few years. He came and supported me in 18. In fact, gave me a few days circling around the state to try to hold Nevada in 2018. It's been amazing to be able to introduce him, to be able to campaign around Nevada. This man fights for this country like no Republican elected leader we have. This man fights every single day for the America that we love, right? This family is laying it all on the line. They are doing everything they can to save this country. And we need you all to stand and welcome to the stage Donald Trump Jr.
Restrictions they put on us. You know, it's Nevada, I guess. When you got that kind of leadership, they're gonna do whatever they can to make sure we don't see any people, just like social media and just like mainstream media. They're gonna censor it. We had an awesome rally last night. The intro walk-in music was just Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent actually traveled with me for the last couple of days. We did 3 rallies a day, and so he actually played live my walk-on music, which was pretty cool. That felt like America. Last night in Kalispell, we had 3,000 people show up just for me and Ted. So guys, I see this energy all over the country. We see it everywhere that we go. It's just, crowds of people, sellout crowds. I mean, a lot of the places when you do have restrictions, you see people in the parking lot. The people that can't get in, there's 3 times the size of what they'd let in the venue. I mean, it's absolutely, it's awesome to see. So I just want to let you guys know how much we appreciate all of your efforts in this. Thank you. The whole team here. Adam, you've been so awesome. Thank you so much for all of your work. Fighting hard, pushing it hard, making me work. But he's a worker. It's sort of good, you know, whenever we had a fundraising thing or whenever we had something that was going on. Adam, what can you do? I'm on it. And no, seriously, he would dial for dollars for us for things that had nothing to do with him. He'd show up to events in D.C. and Florida and lead teams of people. You know, there'd be times I'm falling asleep because of the time difference. He calls me. You need to say hi to this guy. Adam, please leave me alone. It's worse than Kimberly. He did it, trying to sleep because no, you're gonna want to say hi to this guy. And it always worked out. So thanks for all your efforts, Adam. But guys, as I go around right now, it feels really good. You know, I was there on the front lines in 16 doing all of this stuff, getting into every little small town in America.
Down in front.
The enthusiasm there was great. It's 100x right now. I mean, people are really, I think they'd crawl through broken glass to be able to go vote for Donald Trump right now. And the rest of the Republican ticket. Alright? Because you've seen what's going on right now, guys. You've seen the way the commies, meaning the Democrats. No, we gotta make that clear, right? Because we all understand this is not your grandparents' Democrat Party. This Democrat Party no longer represents hard-working men and women of America. They don't represent blue-collar workers. That party is gone. This is now a socialist Marxist party. Look to this state. Look to your neighbor in California. No, seriously, right? Really quick to take your rights. Guess what? You can't gather more than 3 people for your Thanksgiving dinner. Bullshit. Okay? Really? That's not going to work out well with my family, I can assure you. You know, they'll probably lock me up for going to Thanksgiving. They tried for the last 3 years. You know, they let Hunter slide, making hundreds of millions of dollars, selling out America to every corrupt regime. But that's my point. Yes, you're right, boo, but notice how no one hears about this stuff. Social media censors it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. They said we won't link to that. Mainstream media won't do it. Big tech suppresses the searches.
Why?
The Democrats are running the most compromised candidate in the history of the United States right now. And they're only doing it because they didn't bother to even look. If they spent 1% of the time that they did on me, not even my father. I mean, that's like, they could spend 0.00001% of the time on that, looking at Joe Biden and Hunter. They would have realized it. They would have seen all these deals with, notice how all the deals, it's like, it's never like England and France. You know, it's Russia, China, Ukraine, every Kazakhstan, every corrupt regime of the world. It's never like a legit thing because everyone knows what was going on. You know, the same FBI that tried railroading us for years, they've had the laptop for a year and a half. They've been doing an investigation. You know nothing's going to happen with it, but they had that investigation going, and they had the laptop when they impeached Donald Trump. Just think about that. The FBI knew there was corruption out there. Donald Trump, just like he was right in 16 when he said, these guys are spying on my campaign. And everyone went crazy. Oh, it's a conspiracy. Guess what? It's not a conspiracy when they're actually doing it. It's not a conspiracy. I mean, today they talk, oh, you guys are so conspiratorial. I was like, these days, the conspiracy theory is more valid than the argument that they give us. And they force us to try to believe. I'm saying, like, really? You think Hunter's laptop was really Russian disinformation? I mean, we've heard about Russia. You know, you can only cry wolf so many times, right? You think that's really Russian disinformation, or you think that maybe if the shop owner has the receipt with Hunter Biden's signature on it, dropping it off, and there's a long letter from his lawyers asking for it back. You think maybe it's his laptop? Yeah, I have a feeling. You know, I understand that the Bidens collude with the Russians, but probably not to hurt the Bidens. Just to make money. Right? So you don't hear about those things, though, because they're doing whatever they can to suppress it. People like me can get loud, but then we get thrown off of those platforms. Mainstream media won't cover it. The same fake news media that won't cover that lost their minds every time Donald Trump correctly, now we know it's correctly, called them fake news about the Russia hoax. Right? They cried like little children. Oh, you threatening democracy, freedom of the press. It's like, well, you're lying for 4 years. Those same people that cried now, they're actively censoring their peers. They're actively censoring other journalists. The New York Post, 200-year-old paper, the longest contiguously running paper in America. They're calling fake news on their own when there's nothing fake about it. Because guess what? If it was fake, the Biden campaign would have denied it. Meaning, you know, if you're not doing it, it's really easy to be like, no, it didn't happen. If you didn't do it, it's easy to do that, but that's not what they did. They had, you know, one guy was brave enough, one guy in the media of the tens of thousands was brave. Well, you know, it's sort of weird. Like, so did you have the meeting? Panic. What do we do? Well, they couldn't answer the question right there, so they huddled in a room. You know, they're spin doctors, they're PR people. What do we do? We know the media will do whatever it is we say, so what do we come up with? What did they come up with? They came up with, well, no. The meeting wasn't in the vice president's official calendar. Oh, that's wonderful. Media, that's great, we'll just leave. Nothing to see here, folks. No, they didn't answer the question. Even Joe Biden's not dumb enough to put meeting with corrupt official paying me 10, Hunter's holding 10 for big guy. Like, even Joe Biden's not that dumb. Of course it's not in his calendar, but you notice that there was no follow-up from the media. They just, like the sheep that they are, they just took it and they ran. Oh, this is great. He's totally clear. Everyone on CNN, it's Russian disinformation. The director of national intelligence gets on the TV and says there's no evidence of this. Didn't stop him from running with it. I mean, think about it. They spent 3 years trying to throw me in jail, accusing me, falsely, of doing a tiny fraction of what Hunter Biden is actually doing. And now that we know, they have no interest. Like I said, the Democrats impeached Donald Trump for being right about Joe Biden and his corruption. The FBI knew. They knew it was fake when they did it to Trump, and they knew that this was fake. Guess what, guys? It's two different things. Everyone's trying to conflate these things as though it's one big thing to make it all conspiratorial. It's not. The hard drive, and the, Bobolinsky, that's China. That's with China. That's separate from the $1.5 billion that Hunter Biden got from the Chinese government to invest in his fund, $30 million a year, minor details, in a typical 2% fund structure. Minor details, that $30 million from China, that's separate from the 3.5 from the Putin associate in Russia, right? That's separate. That money was tied to human trafficking and prostitution rings. So that's separate from that. These things, then you have the money laundering investigation into Hunter Biden. That's another one. And then you have the FBI railroading the Trump campaign and members like myself of the campaign for 4 years. There's like 6 different things going on here. So they try to conflate it as though it's one big conspiracy. Each one of these things, if it was Donald Trump actually doing, he'd be out. The Republicans would say, and rightfully so. They'd say, you should get out. But the Democrats would say, no, Joe Biden's great. Why? Not because he's great. Not because he's intelligent. Not because he has any new ideas. Because in all fairness, I think if Joe Biden had something to offer or bring to the table, he would have probably brought it to the table in the first half century of his career. I don't know. You saw, I understand, some people take a little while to warm up. All right? You give me a mic. It's my first one of the day. I flew in from Montana. I don't know what, 3 or 4 seconds, and I'm in my groove. I'm doing like my Donald Trump dance with words. All right, we're having some fun. 47 years? Come on! No one thinks he's gonna come into his stride. Come on, man! That's his answer for anything. Like, but that's what it is. He's not gonna come into anything now. But what he is, he's camouflage for the radical left. He's the guy that they're moderate Joe. Look, every time you hear about it, well, Joe Biden and his moderate platform. I'm like, have you read his platform? His platform includes taking away your AR-15, not exactly moderate, taxing your magazines, eliminating any kind of online gun sale stuff. Like, that's just where they start. Where they want to take it is probably much further than that. You got a $4 trillion tax hike. You have eliminating the Trump tax cuts. You have free health care for illegals, free education for illegals, free lawyers for illegals so they can get them put into the country faster. Who do you think that's going to hurt? Yeah, because you know what? You have the privilege of paying for that for them. What you don't have the privilege of is getting that for yourselves. You got to pay for that too. So that's why everyone has to be in this game and wake up. It's not moderate Joe, because you're not moderate with the platform that you have. You're not moderate with the people that you've surrounded yourself with. Right? You're not moderate if Kamala Harris is your VP. That's where this is going, right? You think Joe Biden can't remember which way to put his shoes on in the morning? You think that this guy is going to be able to push against the radical left? You know, if this was a Joe Biden rally, and I said, you know, if it was a Joe Biden rally, one person there, sir, I don't mean to call you out. I would never call you a Biden supporter, okay? I would not do that. But I'm just saying, just play along, okay? Pretend. You can identify as one of the 9,742 genders, and you could be a Joe Biden supporter sitting there. And I'll be talking to you alone, staring at the teleprompter. And I, Joe Biden, after half a century in D.C., am finally going to do something for America for a change. Pause for applause. You know, he's wearing the aviators to make it look like he's not looking at a teleprompter. He's just like, you know, like... He's one of those guys that looks in the mirror, sees a lot cooler than what's actually there, you know, like... He's living in a dream world, folks.
Don't sniff me, Joe.
Resume speaking, and I, Joe... I mean, he's reading the byline on the... I mean, listen, honestly, if you've been doing it for 50 years, you'd think you'd know how to work the teleprompter by now. Notice, like, I'm pretty new at this. I'm not a politician. I don't need a... Who needs a teleprompter? It's not that hard. You have a platform. You've been campaigning on these things. Now, in fairness to Joe Biden, he's flip-flopped on his platform 50 times. He's never met a position he didn't like. If it could get him a vote, he'd just flip. There's no principle there. There's no nothing, which is why we know he'll be owned by the radical left. Right? He's campaigning. He's going to fix blue-collar America. Really? Why'd you support NAFTA for 25 years, Joe? What'd that do for blue-collar America? What'd that do for hard-working jobs? Nothing. It sent them to Mexico. What about TPP? He supported that one wholeheartedly. And China's permanent status in the World Trade Organization. That sent your jobs to China and Asia.
Maybe that's where Hunter's at.
I'm sure, hey, listen, for $30 million a year, you could probably get me to move to China too. I mean, no, probably not. No, you're right. I like my guns too much. You know, we all make sacrifices. 30 mil for my guns is probably worth it, right? But that's what's going on, right? So he spends half a century shipping your American dream abroad, but now he's going to fix it because no one will question it. Just like they didn't question the corruption and they refused to do it, and they're hoping, if we just suppress this enough, if we just hide it from enough people, maybe, just maybe, we can wheel this guy over the finish line. No, really, come on, of course it is. Like, come on, have you watched? Saw the thing the other night with Jill Biden when he thought he was running against George Bush? Listen, if it happened once, I'd let it slide, but this is a daily occurrence. She's sitting there next to him and you see her like, oh, like the fear falls in the face and it's like, oh shit, here we go. She's like, Time to do my job. Sticks her arm up his back like a ventriloquist. Joe, you're running against Donald Trump, you moron. Some of the young kids in the crowd, they don't know what a ventriloquist is, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It's like something out of Reno or Vegas, like a show from the 70s. And I, Joe Biden. It's true though, right? Like, it's funny, you see her, she's like, Jesus Christ, again? Again, like, and then they immediately, no, he was talking about George Lopez. I go, I believe that if the sentence was, we can't survive another 4 years of, because George Lopez isn't president. He's not in the Senate. He's not in the House. That's a 6-year term and a 2-year term, so it wouldn't work with the 4 years anyway. Like, please, for the love of Christ, stop covering for this guy. It's insane. It's insane. So, instead of that, guys, you have the option of having a president that will actually fight for you. A president that's not actually owned by China or Russia or Ukraine. A president that created the strongest economy America has ever seen. A president that created the lowest levels of unemployment for every demographic in America. A president that built the highest number of new startup businesses in our history. A president who's not going to shut down our country again. You saw that V curve that he promised? Remember, he said it's going to be a V-shaped recovery. Because Donald Trump knows about the economy, because he signed the front of a paycheck, not just the back. You guys know the difference, right? That's why when Obama said there's no magic wand, Trump took over and said, abracadabra! He built that, because he knows what he's doing. But guess what, guys? He said there would be a V-shaped recovery. 33.1% GDP growth, the highest ever. Now that's coming out of a trough, obviously, okay? But the fundamentals of the economy that he built are strong. If you do another lockdown, there are going to be businesses that will close their doors and they will not be able to rebound. All of those jobs, millions of them gone, they will not come back. We cannot allow that to happen. You see what's going on here in Nevada? You see what's going on in the other Democrat-controlled states? They don't care. If you lose your job, if you lose your livelihood, your vocation, we got a government program for you. You'll be a Democrat voter for life. It's like a win for them. That's why you see what's going on in California. It's like, it's great. We're going to make dependence. We're going to make you dependent on big government forever. That's wonderful. That's their plan. Well, we like freedom. Again, you know people on the fence, make sure you are speaking to them. These lockdowns that they want to do across the whole, they will destroy our country. They will do more damage just in the mental well-being of people that lose their jobs and their businesses and their homes and their marriages and turn to drugs and alcohol because they can't earn a living for their families. That will do far more damage than anything this thing could do at this point with the therapeutics that we have and the way they're able to treat it and what we know now. Because Donald Trump mobilized the private sector with government to be able to fast-track these things through. You think Joe Biden, with all that money and all that corruption and his son being the lawyer to the spy chief of China, do you hear this one? You think the spy chief Hunter because he's a good lawyer or because he knew that if he got close to him, he'd be able to get compromising information to use against the United States if Joe Biden ever took over and had power? Guess what, guys? We've seen the pictures. I bet we haven't even seen a small percentage of them. I bet there's a lot, you don't just, it wasn't like a one night, we've all had a couple bad weekends, in our lives. I'm not saying I was an angel, but like, that guy's pretty extreme. I'm like, that seems like more than a weekend. Okay? There's a lot more where that came from. And they all have it. We'll never see it. They all have it, and they're just waiting for the right time to use it. We know this. Okay, this is just common sense. This is how the world works. But it's not just the economy. Think about the gains that we're making on a world stage for America. We're keeping our word. By the way, Donald Trump attacked Big Pharma. to make sure consumer drug prices in America are the same as what these guys are selling everywhere else in the world. That's actually, honestly, that's one of the biggest things. People come up to me when I, sort of do the selfie line and high fives and all. There's 2 or 3 a day. Hey, I'm a diabetic. Thank your father so much. I went from paying $750 a month that I couldn't afford to paying $25 for my insulin. And then you have a couple of the big boys, like getting out of the endless wars. Kind of a big one. Now, our own generals can't tell us why we're there. We know it's because they want to be on the board of Raytheon or one of these companies. That's right. When they retire, that's their retirement package, right? So they'll keep our kids over in wars, they'll dilapidate our military. Donald Trump wants to bring it back and build it up here so that if we need to use it, we're actually ready. Rather than building roads, bridges, tunnels in Afghanistan, why don't we build them in Nevada? With American labor. And then we got the big one. 4 of them.
Yep.
Peace deals in the Middle East. That's like, it's like Sasquatch. A Yeti. We've heard about it for our whole lives, but only like someone's drunk uncle has ever actually seen it. Lives over in the hills over yonder, guys. We've been hearing about it our whole lives. Donald Trump comes in, he says he's going to do it. Everyone says he's doing it all wrong. I go, on what do you base that? Well, he's going against what the experts say. I go, okay, but what have the experts accomplished in the last, 45 years? Nothing. You're right, I always say. I do this and they usually get pretty confused because they're not that smart. No, they're not, guys. In all fairness, if you were smart, you would have changed the tactics after the first couple of decades of failure, but they're not. They just think they are because they call themselves experts, right? I say, guys, my 6-year-old daughter, Chloe, some of you may know her from Instagram. She is darling. She's aggressive, too. She's got that Trump gene. My girls are tough. You don't want to mess with them. That's going to be a nightmare. I go, my daughter Chloe, she's 6 years old. She knows as much about the Middle East as our experts. And all of these people think I'm doing one of the, how these these woke Twitter blue check mark people, they go, well, my 3-month-old was talking about nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula and how, no, they weren't. Stop. They go, well, what is Chloe? I go, no, let's just assume this. Let's assume that Chloe's a normal 6-year-old girl. Let's assume she knows nothing about peace in the Middle East. She knows exactly as much as our experts that have been leading the charge. You know what I mean? So they think I'm being all woke. I'm like, no, she's just a 6-year-old. But basically, so are you. In terms of your accomplishment. Whether they didn't want it, whether they're incapable, whether they would rather cower and apologize to radical Islamic terrorists. Notice how there's no more problem with ISIS? Yeah. Notice how that caliphate that was the size of large states, gone, huh? I wonder what happened.
Obama's army.
Yes. I had friends, buddies of mine, they were on SEAL teams. They'd come back, when they're home from deployment, they'd come back and be like, you have no idea who we had on our sites. I go, what do you mean? What happened? Well, under the Obama rules, we had to call a lawyer in D.C., and usually by the time they got to us 3 days later, it was too late. You had one of the playing card guys, a top target. They took out the number 2 guy of, I guess, Al-Qaeda the other day. Just another one. Washington Post, they got a little smarter. They didn't call him an austere religious scholar like they did al-Baghdadi, right? Anything to... That's disgraceful. They also forget to tell you the story that there was communications from the raid that killed bin Laden, right? And the raid that killed bin Laden, my buddy Rob O'Neill shot him in the face. And they collected a bunch of information. They released that information this year, 10 years later. They declassified some of it. And in there was communications between Osama bin Laden and his top henchmen. They wanted to kill President Obama. And I quote, essentially quote, because that would put Joe Biden in charge, and he's grossly unprepared for the job. No. Think about this. 10 his wish. I understand that endorsements are coveted in politics. We like them in politics. I don't want the Osama bin Laden endorsement. But 10 years after his death, the guy that Osama bin Laden wanted to be in charge of America because it would be bad for America is the Democrat nominee for President of the United States. Think about how insane that this is. There's nothing inaccurate about any of this. So guys, you see what we are up against. You see the lies, you see the cover-ups, you see big tech and the power that they have. Social media and the power that they have. The mainstream media and the power that they have. What we have is you. And that's worth it, because that's what my father did this for to begin with. He didn't do it because he needed the job. He didn't do it because he needed the money. He was doing pretty good. He did it for us and for our kids and for our future. But we need you in the game. We need you guys all voting, obviously, but then we need you calling all of your friends. Each and every one of them. And then text them. And then drive the ones that need a little help to the polls. We got to make up for the cheating that they're going to do down in Vegas. All right? We need you guys to turn out up here in Reno and the rest of northern Nevada. All of those counties, we need you calling the friends. Knock on your doors. You got 2 days left. Okay? I figure you can each make about 5,000 phone calls a day. And we win an election. Just what? Just do it. Do it. I've been traveling the whole country doing 5 of these a day for 4 months. You guys can make 5,000 phone calls, okay? Just get it done. All right? And when we do, we will win. And when we do, we will send a message to the radical left that their socialist Marxist policies are not welcome. But we cannot do it without you. So get out there and call. Get out there and vote. Get out there and bring your friends. Get out there and vote right down the ticket for Republicans so that we can actually have freedom. Okay, because guess what, guys? I would have never said this 10 days ago, but with what I've seen with the cover-up stuff going on this corruption, your First Amendment rights are on the table this time. Once they go, they don't come back. If big tech keeps getting stronger and goes unchecked because the Democrats have power and they'll let it do it because it's benefiting them, you never get that back. And that is worth going all in for. That is worth doing a couple hours of phone calls and getting your friends to the polls for, okay? And when you do that, we will win. And yet when you win, Donald Trump can do what he's done. The guy that created the strongest economy ever is the guy that can do it again. Not a guy that's been talking about it for 47 years with no accomplishments. If you have people on the fence, ask them to name a single Biden accomplishment. I get you may not always love Donald Trump's attitude. You'd be pretty... I do too. Hey, and your friends that don't, tell them, you'd be pretty grumpy too. If the entire mainstream media called you an agent of Russia and tried putting your kids in jail for 4 years, but guess what? It's that attitude, that willingness to fight. That's why we are winning. That's why we're getting those things done. So get out there, vote. And with that, we can make America great again. And more importantly, we can make liberals cry again. Get out there, Nevada. Do not mess around. Do not take anything for granted. And do not take anything for chance. Get out and vote and bring everyone you know. And it's going to be an awesome night on Tuesday. Thank you, Reno. Thank you, guys.
Oh,